mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. It's all hard, ain't no fear here. You ain't giving this to all you still.
Wing it.
Hey, welcome to another exciting... I don't even know if my audio... Yeah, it's good. Welcome to another exciting episode of Ride the Rebellion podcast. I am Drew. I almost wanted to say shout out to my buddy Scotty, Native American pop culture spirit guy, because I'm so used to hearing him say it on another podcast I'm on. I am not Native American, nor am I posing to be Native American, nor am I slamming Native Americans. That's what he says. If you want to hear that, go to his YouTube channel. It's called Bobcast. Go to that. Listen to his shows. Meanwhile, though, with me as always is the president, the ruling, the reigning, defending king of the Dale Boyd sports management empire, Dale Boyd.
Man, I wish there was an empire. If there was an empire, would I call it like The Empire Strikes Back sometimes?
No, you would not.
I don't know. That was a long way throwback to our early days on the pod. If you're listening,
the old games. Yeah, back when we used to do this game. If you guys don't know, we used to do a game where we would. Let me see if I just hit that button and get some audio. Maybe not. I don't know. That has nothing to do with you guys. We used to do a show where we'd play. Is it Star Trek or is it Star Wars? And Dale would lose a lot.
Yeah, I still don't know.
Yeah.
Like, no idea whatsoever.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't matter. It's perfectly fine. All right, so let's jump into our sponsor role real quick. Of course, we want to give a shout out to our friends over at Dirt Coaster Academy. We had a nice controversial statement about them last month, which was, it's the last episode we talked about Storyteller and how, like, maybe they could have helped me.
Yeah, you're right.
I got a call from Toby, and he was like, listen, that's a legit trail. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And I was like, I kind of feel like you're sandbagging me right now and making me feel good about it just to keep your product endorsement. No, but he was serious. He was like, hey, if you want to learn to do it, I'll get you there. He's like, but it does take a lot of work and yada, yada, yada. We talked to a couple other people that have ridden it or seen it, and I've had other people say the same stuff, which was kind of funny. In all honesty, for mountain biking to handle almost anything in our area, which is why I think Dirt Coaster's so good for this region, and frankly, Bentonville now. But for our area, for sure, they definitely have equipped me for the tools to handle that. Like, there's nothing that really throws me off. And that's good. And I think that's the same. You learn from it. We both learn from it. Everyone that we know has learned from it. We've seen those benefits. That said, their Bentonville side of things, I think, is a totally different beast, because up there you're learning a whole different way of riding that we just don't have access to. No. Not just because it's Bentonville, just simply because the area is a little bit better in that capacity.
I think that even in Bentonville, you're going to have to ride a different style. Down here we have rocks. We don't have rocks. We have roots. We have roots. Mid-Alabama, you have rocks. Obviously, southern Louisiana, where they're based out of, they have all the different types of sandy bottoms as we do. So it prepares you you'll never go somewhere and ride that you're like, man, I've never seen this before. But at Bentonville, it's all kind of, I've never been there, so I'm going to assume, just from things that I've heard, like it's very groomed trails, and they might have some, I'm sure they have some rugged single track, but mostly you're going to learn how to like rail corners and like corners that were built to be railed.
Yep.
That's
exactly
like it. The corners that we're railing, it's like,
right.
Hang on tires.
Sure. And I still have times where I'm like, I just don't like these tires because I'll lean the bike over.
Yeah.
But when there's enough of a gap between the center nub and the edges and that little slide point, I don't like the slide point. I'm not there. Like, we don't have enough time to ride on stuff where that bank is so it's a fast turn for us, and then it's like, oh, I'm on it, and it's not for me.
I was actually telling somebody, I don't remember who it was at the Rev the other day. They were talking about, I don't know how to trust my tires, and I was like, okay, well, have you ever snowboarded? And this person said yes, and I was like, it's equivalent to like learning your edges on snowboarding.
Right.
So like once you feel that edge, it's like the manual trainers that are out there.
Yep.
Now. So once you feel that edge or feel where that manual is, that's where your sweet spot is.
Right.
Like, you don't want to go past it. You don't want to go forward. So like, that's how I kind of run with my tires. I guess I probably push past the edge sometimes, just let it happen. But
no, I'm the same.
I mean, it's kind of the way. The other part is, like, we talked about tires on Sunday, like trying to find the right tire for where you're riding.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a whole, I don't know. I just ride what
I think that we'll throw that in the mix, because Sunday was an interesting conversation, which is kind of, Kind of the topic of our show when we get there. So yeah, of course, Dirt Coaster Academy, a big loop back to it. They won't just help you with your riding; they'll help you get your bike set up correctly. And I think one of the real advantages is you can have a conversation with Toby. You can talk to Nina. The thing is, if you're interested in enduro in any capacity, here you have a dude that's has run multiple races, and it's confirmed he can shred.
And has he ever beat Kevin?
He has never beat Kevin Black, which brings us to.
No, I think he always beats Kevin. No.
I think he has always beat Kevin. That's what I meant.
Kevin's never.
But it brings us to our unofficial sponsor, Man of War Tattoo. If you want to be second place like Kevin Black,
he'll even tattoo you with the second place red ribbon. He needs a second place red ribbon.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
He's tried this year too. He's gonna murder me after this. But if you legitimately, if you're looking for a tattoo, I just talked to somebody, JD that I just hired that works here. He's got a lot of tattoos, and he's had work done there. And he's like, dude, they're fantastic. Yeah. And so he's bounced around all over the Eastern Shore.
The best part about the tattoos that they do is they're so extravagant.
Right.
My tattoo is like stick figures.
Right.
So it's so funny that I have Kevin's like, could you get something a little more manly next time, a little bigger?
The gun starts up. And he's like, He's like, okay, good, I'm done. It was like, that's so easy.
No, seriously, when I was there, I was like, oh, you're done? Like, I thought you were just like started. He's like, no, for real, it's done.
Yeah.
Like, he goes, your wife's getting a bigger one.
Right.
Like, so
that's how it always works.
Oh man. Yeah.
So if you have a chance, check them out. You can. The best place to see their work and such is on Instagram, which I believe is at Man of War Tattoo.
Yeah. And Kevin has his own Blackie tattoo.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, Kevin's also fun because you get some MTB in there too.
Right,
I believe. Yeah, that's a good one to follow. So of course we have them. Lucky Shot Coffee. Listen, I gave him his Christmas. I literally saw one of the clients, USM today, University of Southern Mississippi is one of my clients, and I saw them today on a shoot, and they talked about the coffee and how delicious it was. They're like, the Drew's blend is the best, and I was like, well, that's from Lucky Shot because I did a custom blend and gave it to my clients as a gift. We're still drinking it here, and it's fantastic. Like, we all literally think it's the best coffee we've had. They may not say that. I think it's the best coffee, but it is also Drew's blend, and I'm just pompous enough to believe that.
It has like you with a crown on it, like a king crown, just sitting on top of it.
I'm the boss of kings. But it is fantastic. If you haven't had a chance to try it, head over to LuckyShotCoffee.com and order yourself some coffee and get going with that. Also, I'm waiting for him to call, but this is way off his schedule.
He already called me today.
Oh, he did? Okay.
We got our quota in.
So also we'd like to shout out to Run and Try. I know I got a little pissed off last week when I went off about. I was listening to the episode and I was like, man, I was angry, but I am a little angry still. But if you have a chance, head over to Run and Try. Right. They have more than just you can. Obviously, they have shoes. I've got to go over there and get another set of shoes. Coming up due here.
They are also starting up on Wednesday nights a run from Post in Spring Hill. I'm not sure the actual location of the Post.
Run to where?
Basically, they used to do it at B-Dubs, but they just group run, any distance, basically come back and have drinks, and he has giveaways to give away on Wednesday nights for whoever shows up, things like that. So
that's a good idea.
If you're a runner or thinking about getting in the running, what better place to do it than at a bar?
Is it a zero drop run?
No. No runs are ever zero drop.
Right. Runners are assholes.
Yeah. So you're going to find the people that are your pace, and those are going to become your friends.
Right.
And that's the way it works.
Right. Yeah, runners are assholes, which leads me into a topic of bikers may or may not be.
Ooh, they might not be.
In some cases.
Depends on how tight their clothes are.
That is correct. Somewhat. I honestly feel like that the spandex crowd just doesn't care.
No.
And the ones that are nice enough to engage in conversation, like literally engage in convo, not just be like, yeah, but the ones actually engage in convo, they're cool people. They end up being pretty cool. I feel like the douchebaggery exists primarily inside of us Lucy baggers.
It does.
Like, we can be some prick hole sandwiches.
Yeah, the folks, since we're stereotyping the folks that wear spandex, but they generally are out for a workout, right? Like, they're there to get their workout in. They're there to get done. They're not there to have a craft beer and BS with the boys afterwards.
Right.
They're there for a reason, and they put it hard and they do it, and there's no disrespect there.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of douchebaggery that goes on with the cargo pockets.
Oh, dude, there's no way around it. Like, there is, I mean, you are constantly sizing. I rarely hear XC guys or spandex clan care about that much about what else someone else rides. No. They're looking at your Strava times and PRs.
That's right.
Us, the first thing we do is like, check out his bike. Check it out. What's it got? Oh, what's out? That guy doesn't have a float. Look at him.
Man,
Look at this guy. He rides RockShox. This
He
guy.
has an externally routed dropper post. Like, who is this guy?
Right. Oh, he has, as we have done on this show, we have said, oh, he has 26-inch tires. Who is this guy?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we
What
definitely,
douchebags we are.
We are douchebags, and that's the fun. We have a podcast, so we can be douchey. But actually, this podcast is 0 drop, so we really don't care what you ride.
Right. Now, at
We
the end of the
truly
day,
don't.
at the end of the day, we've worked hard to overcome some of
Right,
that,
yeah.
but it still exists. And
Definitely
and so we try not to let it happen at the Reb as best we can, but I've heard it from time to time, but it's rare. It's really, really,
This
really
is
rare.
conversely though, like we're bringing up the bad bike, right? But having a really nice bike
Right.
and not being able to ride it is conversely just as douchey, I guess.
Right.
Like I've made that comment. I think I told Trey when we went to the Bonita enduro race, my first time ever enduro racing, first time riding the Meta. And like I wheel it off and we're walking up to get our tags and everybody's staring at it, right? Because it's glowing in the sun.
Right.
And I was like, I think I turned to Trey and Bug. I was like, well, can't suck now.
Right.
Like it's like that thing, like you can't roll up with a bike like that and blow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perspective game.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's also me being an athlete my whole life.
Right.
Like
that
walking into
right.
a gym with the dude with the brand new Jordans on, he better not suck. If he does, I'm just going to smack him.
that's exactly it.
It's true though.
It's one of those things of like, for me, like I look at him, I look at the bike, there's times that I look at other people's stuff and I'm like, that's awesome. And I'm whatever their ride might be and whatever. But for me, the bigger takeaway, I'm looking at the client because this guy pulling up, I parked really shitty. I bet he's going to bitch about it. But the riding factor for me is how much fun that person generates. The only time I ever get envious or any of that space is it depends on how much fun they generate. There's a guy that rides with us. Shout out to the other Jacobe, not Jakey Poo, but the other Jacobe that rides with us. And that Jacobe, that guy, he is one of the most positive, super sender, fun stoke builders. That's like, let's go, come on, let's see. And he's just positive all the time and is uplifted, loves the Reb, all that stuff. But he rides legitimately the nicest bikes I've ever been around.
Right.
Like hands down. Like when he rolls them out, they're awesome. He has the money to afford it, that's his business. Like I don't care. But he's a great rider too.
Yeah.
But what I love about riding with him is that like he gets behind you, he doesn't care one way or the other. He's just gonna stoke. He's just gonna stoke. And if someone's pushing, then he might push with you. Like when you guys play,
Yeah.
he'll chase you. He'll ride right with you. But when he's riding with me, he's just back there having a good time, hooting and hollering and enjoying life.
Yeah, when we were riding the other day, him and I was like, man, I took a wrong turn. He was like, I don't know, I just checked my smiles meter and it's good. We're
Right.
good. And
Right.
I'm like, all right, good
That-
point.
that right there
That
is
was
like-
like the greatest quote. Like, all right.
Dude.
That's the same thing when we said, people are getting lost because they don't have a route. Like
Right.
we're so conditioned to have a beginning and an end
Right.
that like if you're on your bike in the woods on a trail,
Right.
you're not lost.
Right.
Just enjoy the ride.
Right.
Take
That's
a
right.
turn. What's the
Unless
next
you're
turn?
on this some epic that's like 46 miles or
Yeah. Unless you
300
got
something
some
miles, yeah.
347-mile trail, John and Don idiots.
Don and John. Don John. Wasn't that a company for a while? Don Juan. Don John?
Juan. I said, hey, this is just new. I mean, this is off topic completely. Do we have a topic?
No, not really.
All right. So John just texted me and said he's going to this. I forget the even name of it because I was trying to figure out what it was. But he said they're going to this race and it's like 347 miles or 370 miles. And I was like, how many days are you going to do this? And he's like, well, we're shooting for 3. I was like, that's 123 miles a day.
Good God.
I said, I'll pray for y'all. And I don't even pray.
But wait,
So-
isn't what is the Tinga TNGA thing?
Yeah, that was 350.
Right. So they're just shy of that.
Yeah, but it's in it's in Ocala, I think, in Florida. So they're less elevation.
Oh, so it's more of
It'll
a.
be flat.
Do you think is it a linear ride or is it a loop?
It's a loop, so I think they have to do
yeah.
the loop over and over.
I'm not doing that.
It's like 100-mile loop or something like that. I don't
Nope,
know. I tried
not
to
happening.
read and I lost me.
I can't ride in circles.
Yeah, it's a 100-mile loop.
I'm not douching anybody that likes to ride in circles.
Yeah.
I just don't like riding in circles
A
for that
100-mile
long.
loop, though?
For that long.
100-mile loop, you'd forget.
I don't know, man. I just would know that I'm going to see this tree again. I
Yeah.
just know it.
I guess that.
Like on a short track, it's one thing. Like if I'm training and we're riding like all mountain
It
XC,
is
down
Florida,
country,
though.
whatever the fuck the word is this week.
Yeah.
Those loops, I'm totally good with that stuff.
Right.
That's like anything that's in life. I love the repetition of that's training. But if you're asking me to ride in a circle for fun, I just have a tough time.
300
Like multiple circles.
300 plus miles is not fun, whether you're riding it in loops
No.
or straight.
That sounds like a Nixon special right there.
Oh, Nixon probably invented it.
I'm sure he did. It's in Ocala. I bet he's going to be there.
He might. I don't know. I told John to reach out to him.
Yeah, that'd be kind of good to know.
So, yeah, what were we talking about?
Just not being a douchebag, which we just were kind of being douchey about it.
Oh, we're definitely douchey.
So one of the things
the
that's
fun part.
happened is we bring this up to say we had. You ever have one of those days? And I guess this is really the topic. So not being a douchebag leads into this. But do you ever have one of those riding days where like you ride and it doesn't matter how much you ride, you just don't seem to get tired. The weather's fantastic. The energy's great. There's a bunch of that was what we were lucky enough to have like a Sunday not too long ago. And we call it Dirt Church where we're from. And that's an open thing, like not open to anybody, but like if somebody wanted to ride the Reb, that's the day to do it is on Dirt Church.
Absolutely.
So Sunday mornings, it's just pleasant. You get out there obnoxiously early for some reason.
I love
build
it
a
out
fire.
there early.
Yeah.
When you get out there early, it's like you watch the sunrise over the horizon,
Right.
and it's just peaceful.
It is.
I mean, it really is.
And then a bunch of a-holes show up screaming fart jokes and dick jokes and whatever else we can manage to.
Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, man, you guys, where's this place you guys ride at? And like, is there new members coming? I was like, we're kind of limiting because of the trail situation and stuff. And I was like, but if you make enough dick jokes, you could probably get invited.
Right. That's right. You make a good quality. They got to be high quality
They have
dick
to be
jokes.
quality.
But you get that ride. We had that ride, and I remember, that was so impactful to me that how good of a day it was. I was like, my God, like that's the addiction of riding. Like I can't even imagine Sasquatch. I can't even imagine riding. If riding were that all the time, it wouldn't be special. But it was one of those things that was like truly, it was rare. It's like for me on projects. Like if I get a project that's that good, they're rare to get clients that are that awesome, that just everything seems to work well and it just feels like a benefit the whole time.
Especially on our trails.
Right.
Right. Because you're not, you're excited, but you're not surprised.
Right.
Right. Because you ride them all the time.
Right. We build them.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
We ride them so much. I've walked them so much that now I drug a wheelbarrow full of dirt and rocks around it yesterday. That was terrible.
Yeah.
But it's like, to have those moments, like we are living that place for those moments, like sitting on the benches with everybody hanging out, and Bug pulling his pants down, just all of it.
It was one of those where it was so interesting, and there's so many different types of riders, so many different people coming to play,
and personalities.
Oh yeah, it was
and
nuts.
Demographics, and it's like everybody's there for one reason.
And so I got to thinking, I was like, how do you recreate that culture? Because you can and you can't. Right. For anybody out there that's looking for the same thing, like maybe you're a solo rider, then you need to find that one other person that just adds that. Because the one thing that came out of that is that every person that was out there, including some of the more negative, some of the people we have, they're typically maybe a little more pessimistic, like Le Poo Extreme. Even that guy was no longer pessimistic. Right. And I think the thing is you have to find people that it doesn't matter how good they ride. I would argue they need to be close to your level, if not better.
Yeah.
If they're a really good rider, but the important part is that if they share the stoke with you and they're excited to be out there and have that fun, then you can start building that. Because if you start building everything on that platform, suddenly you're going to see more and more of those Sundays. They're not always going to be that great, but you'll have more of those than you will the just simple, boring riding day.
One of the things that came from it, though, that you and I can take from this, and I say you and I because there was some weeks there where we're out there just trudging along, cutting and raking and cutting and planning, and it seemed pointless, right?
Right.
Like we made a bitch to each other about like, why are we the only people here? Like, why is there no one here? This is the prime months. Not to build. We don't care if you're building. I mean, it'd be awesome if you did, but these are the months where we should be out there, everybody, and no one was there. So I think that this just pays like. This reinforces what we already thought we were doing, like
we had like 3 or 4. How many people were new that had never ridden there? We had 2 guests.
Yeah.
And then Pat was the third one.
Yes.
Pat is hilarious. I can't wait to have him on the
hilarious.
show. I don't even know how that'll go. He's a funny guy. Love Pat. He's fun. Great. But like we had it's Pat, Justin's buddy, and then that Nate guy. And what the biggest takeaway from this, and which I think is really fascinating, is we're all out there, and there was a lot of us, and we're all riding. I mean, it would have been great. It's one of those times I wish Carrie would have been there because she would have got to experience something really neat that she would have appreciated because she's sentimental like me. She likes those kind of moments.
Yeah.
But this guy Nate's there, and he rolls up, and we laughed because him and Le Poo look kind of similar.
Look similar. They were twins. They were like brothers.
They were like brothers, and they They ride both really well. They're clearly the best two riders out there.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking anybody else, but like I didn't know this guy's story until I sat down. But this guy grew up in the PNW. Mm-hmm. He grew up in the Pacific Northwest. He learned around mountain biking in that area. That's what he knows, right? He's been all through there. He lives in Alaska currently. He goes to Whistler. I mean, the guy is a legit rider, and he's on our property. And if you want to seek validation in the bullshit world that we don't talk, but again, I didn't seek validation from him, but he brought it. And he said, I believe he said it to you.
Yeah, he said it to me.
That this area, or you can probably get the quote better in, but the fact is that he walked away impressed, and you can say what he said, but he walked away impressed. Mm-hmm. That goes a long way, because he wasn't the type of guy, he's military. He's not the type of guy that's just going to be nice and kiss our ass. Right. I think he was legitimately understanding that the terrain that we had with what we were and what that is, to him was like, oh man, it was great, because he didn't give a shit about that stuff. He cared about that the riding was fun. Like he had people around him that were sharing in the stoke and enjoying themselves. Yeah.
What he said was, you guys created something really special here.
There it is.
And it's not, you didn't build something special. You didn't rake something special. You didn't dig something special. You created something special. So to me, that means that we created a community or an environment around an atmosphere around people that's fun.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's awesome. I mean, it was from the beginning. I mean, we even had a podcast about how we didn't want to ride our bikes because we were just like down and out, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
polar opposite.
Yeah, totally opposite.
And so part of what made all that super magical and how things went in that capacity was the fact that, like, look, we all got out there. It was a good dirt church. The reason the hype was so high is, and if anybody I'm just going to say this, like, just so you guys know, there's not an ask for it. If you want to, you're welcome to. The PayPal is at Ride the Rebellion, at Ride the Reb. At Ride the Reb is the PayPal. We just basically ask our members. We have a friend, and we've talked about it on the show before. We have a friend.
We've made fun of him for months.
We
on
have
the podcast.
On this podcast, into his face,
yes,
across the board, which is Jakey Poo. And Jakey Poo rides this 26-inch wheeled bike.
Intense bike.
It's an intense. I think it's from 2006.
It's 12 years old, right?
Is it 12 years old?
Yeah, it's 12 years old.
Okay, so it's not that bad. But still
12 years
in the
old.
bike world,
Technology
a lot has changed.
Yeah.
Right. So he rides a 12-year-old bike. It's not a matter of financial, whether he has the money or not. He just is in a spot where buying a new bike and it's just not going to work out for him at the moment.
When does it ever work out for anyone, to be honest?
It doesn't, but I know that, like, for him, he changed jobs. He took a lot of personal stuff. A lot of things happened. And so it's always been on the back burner.
Right.
But we literally harassed this guy about his bike. We've made fun of him on this podcast. There's episodes
like
of us being total asshats about
That's
it.
Right.
And then you had come up to me and was like, man, we got to do something. And I was like, I'm with you. And so we rallied together, and literally a group of people all pitched in, along with the Reb Bike Shop, which will happen at some point. And we all pitched in, and we raised money, and we bought him a bike. But the irony of this was, it wasn't just a bike that we found. It was, you did the digging. So, I mean, you came across the exact bike, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
it was the exact bike that he wanted in the exact color that was perfect, because it was raw, just like his Intense was.
Yep.
And we were able to secure that bike from him. We gave it to him the night before, surprised him out of the blue. I had to tell this whole lie. There's a video. I don't know if the video will get shared or not, because he's cool with it, but he did. I mean, he got me crying because he was crying. I mean, it was like, it's a gut hit when you see this dude that you love to ride with be that happy. Like, you helped make somebody. And so all these people showed up to share in that stoke. So it's just like flowing, right?
Yes. I think, I mean, and Jakey Poo called me that night. I cried on the phone. Like, just the whole thing was, we didn't buy this bike out of pity. We didn't buy it out of shame for us. We didn't buy it as a token to make ourselves feel better because we've been making fun of him. It wasn't about any of that. It was about, like, the love for somebody, and the bike might mean more than just the bike, right? It means, like, we care about each and everybody, everyone. We care about everybody that rides out there in a different capacity, right? And we're paying back or paying homage to the guy that found the Reb, that made it possible for us, and a guy that maybe needed a pickup in a certain situation, right? Like, so sometimes mountain biking doesn't have to be about what you ride, who you ride with, or what it is. Sometimes it just needs to be about, be a good fucking friend.
And that's what it was. I mean, that's what the game came down to, is like, we were there to come through in the clutch. And again, if we think of it this way, if And this applies to anybody. I think it's a fantastic thing. Find somebody in your riding group that maybe needs that bump. Maybe they need a new helmet. Maybe you made fun of that. Find it. But here's how it works. Here's how easy it was. There was enough people in the Reb group that they all pitched in. If you're not, most of us buy some kind of bike gimmick once a month.
Yeah.
All we're asking you to do is not buy a bike thing for this month, and then you're going to have one of the best feelings in the world and watch one of your friends just totally benefit from that. So by just not buying a single effing bike part,
Or going to a bike park.
You can literally raise enough money to buy a bike. And we bought this dude a Banshee, by the way. We did not get him something swaggy. We got a Banshee, and shout out to the guy in Orlando, William. Thank you very much for hooking us up. He was great.
That's right.
Made it very easy. It's a great bike. But we were able to do that. So the point is you could take that same level of stoke and inject that into any community where you are by simply just, hey, guys, we're going to pitch in $50, $100, 20. It doesn't matter how much. If you just rally in it, just spare a part and then create some stoke, because that's literally what happens when you do that kind of stuff.
And sometimes, I mean, and we talked about this, like our demographic of folks that ride with everyone. I'm sure your community is the same. We come from a certain demographic of affluence, I would say, right? We're riding $1,000 bicycles.
Sure.
Okay. So we're not used to getting things like this. So we were kind of nervous about how he would take it. And being a man, we're not supposed to talk about things, right?
Right.
Like if things are bothering us, we are conditioned to just internalize it and pull your bootstraps up and go to work, right?
Right.
So I think that's why I say it was more than just a bike. Like it meant so much. Like I was putting the bike together like in happiness, right? Like things were frustrating because Shimano shit is trash.
Here it is. And you can send your hate mail too.
But I could figure out, I mean, it's a Shimano drivetrain. I'm a SRAM guy. So, but anyway, I was frustrated with that, but I was like smiling, like if it was my bike, I mean, it wasn't because it wasn't my bike, but just the whole thing.
Shit, I almost was like, I don't know, man. Maybe he just needs something else.
Yeah, because that bike is sick.
It is sick.
Yeah, it's
gorgeous. If you guys have not seen a Banshee in person, I am telling you,
go
find the dude or lady or friend, whoever has one, and go look at it. And look at
he'll let you stand there and stare at it like he is.
Look at the details on it though. They do their design idea is up there. Common Cell is really good, right? Oh, man, some of the notes on that Banshee, just little bitty things they just caught my eye, and it's like hidden lines. And that's the thing I love about, like, certain cars have hidden lines where it's like, oh, I didn't see the car, how it would shape that way. Oh, it's gorgeous and almost all light. It's a pretty bike.
And we all know how long it takes to like get used to riding a new bike.
Yeah.
The poo was shredding on that thing in like 10 minutes.
Because let's be honest though.
It was probably easier.
Yeah, because he's cramming down on this 26er. Right. And I was laughing because like all the jumps out there that he built, all of his jumps were built with the knowledge of a 26-inch bike in play. And now all of a sudden he's out there, they all would benefit us. But now he's jumping on a 29er, or he's actually riding a mullet. But he's riding this mullet that's more or less, and you completely see a different. It's a complete riding experience is different.
Yeah, it's awesome. And seeing him at the end was like, oh, there's some things I have to learn, like pedal strikes. I'm like, it actually hits the ground a little bit.
Right.
Like you have to learn that. And it just had a lot more travel than what he was used to. And the lyric fork, once he gets all that shit lined out, it's a beast of a bike.
Fun. And so I guess that's kind of the thing that there was kind of playing in my brain, like thinking about what we're going to talk about this particular episode, because we don't plan it all the time because we have a lot of stuff going on.
We sat down 4 minutes ago and said, what are we going to talk about?
No, that's accurate.
I don't think anybody that's ever been around Drew and I thought that we had a lack of conversational ability.
We can talk about shit all day. I mean, we see each other, and then 2 hours later, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? I don't know. I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah.
We can talk about shit.
We don't even talk about bikes most of the time.
Right.
We
That's
talk
the
about
thing.
Everything.
There's a great podcast, by the way, that I'll refer over. It's called, excuse me. That's what it's called. It's called Feeding Ourselves, Feeding Our Friends, Feeding shit. Anyway, it's the Mahalo My Dudes.
Okay.
It's their podcast, which I would like to point out they're copying us, just putting it out there.
Copycat.
But they have like one episode out of 8 that's about mountain biking. The rest of the time, it's just general conversation. And they get guests because they have the ability to pull them in, and they're in Vancouver, whatever. But they have a very good show.
Like D-list mountain bike racers.
No, they brought the guy in the us. Yeah. We bring in what did that guy call him? Cricket?
Yeah, Cricket. No, yeah, what did he say?
Beetle.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, I saw that one with Beetle.
Yeah, Beetle.
That's great.
We have Beetle Bailey. Anyway, it's a fascinating, it's a good podcast. But the thing that I take away from all that is we sit down to have fun. This is supposed to be a fun, Stokey thing. It's not a tech-driven thing. Cool. We can talk about these. No, I'm talking about us. Like, we can talk about tech shit on here all day, but neither one of us are really going to be the best people you ever want to ask tech advice from. Because at the end of the day, like, I can fix things. Dale can fix things, but sometimes we fix it with, like, luck and spit.
Right. When I say, give me that thingy tool.
Right.
To fix it.
Right.
Like, it lined up. Oh, we're good. Let's ride.
Right. I mean, there's been times I've been zip tying things together just to be like, this is good enough. Mm-hmm. But I do think it's important to say that, like, it's not knocking that side of it, but that's kind of our approach is like, this is the casual side. This is that zero draw. Yeah. This is we're the equivalent of the group ride. Where you're just talking shit. Like one ride, we just talked about our favorite Arnold movies and just passed it down the line. It was stupid. But that's what it is. Or we're the post-ride beer.
Yeah, we are. Sometimes it's hoppy, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think that's what we started for, right? Like, we got tired of hearing, I personally got tired of hearing podcasts like talk about shit that we don't ever see do.
Yeah,
most people don't.
That goes back to the same thing. It's like this, I mean, I still firmly stand by my shout out to the Flatlands. Like, this is for all those groups, but it's not just them. I think there's a lot that's overlooked. I think that Birmingham, and Nate even said this, the guy from P&W, Nate was like, dude, Birmingham is wicked good. Mm-hmm. He was like, that is a great place to go ride your bike. Yeah. And he's ridden all over the country. And that guy's saying that. Not to knock Chattanooga, not to knock Pisgah, not to knock any of the other stuff. Mm-hmm. But literally, I think there's a lot that gets overlooked because they're in shadows of giants. Right. And sometimes that where that shadow is where the absolute most amazing things are. There's probably stuff happening in the Midwest that I wish we would get to know about. That's so exciting and so fun. That is not about sending gnarly jumps and doing. It's just they've found a way to have super fun. Mm-hmm. I think I told you a year ago I met a guy. They're up in Pittsburgh. I think they're in the Pittsburgh area, and they have a private bike park. Exact same scenario as us. Yeah. Now these guys have rocks and proper stuff, but they do the same thing. Theirs is Thursday nights. They have a Thursday night ride. No dude misses it. They all show up. There's like 28 to 30 members. Same scenario as us. They get pissed drunk.
Oh, well.
And he was like, dude, so many guys call in on Fridays. It's like, it's just brutal because they're all like 40 plus.
Yeah.
So they're all in that same range as us or in that bracket, and they're all dads, and they're all like, they come home and get in trouble and shit. It's pretty good shit.
It's a golf league.
That's right.
It's just a bike instead of a
exactly
golf
what it is.
Because I used to go to golf league too.
Right. It's just finding that group and hanging with it.
Yeah, I mean, even when I golfed at a place called, I had 2 memberships, but one membership was at Prairie View Golf Course, right? And it is exactly.
Is that Prairie View A&M?
No. Just kidding. But it should be. So it's exactly what you think. It is like a prairie with a golf course on it.
Right.
And everybody always be like, oh, you golf there? I'm like, you guys, I have more fun at this shitty little golf course. And it wasn't shitty. The guys that owned it golfed with us.
Right.
And they took amazing care of it, and it was in great shape. But people were like, well, it's just too easy. I'm like, okay, well, do you like to go golf and hate yourself the whole time?
That's right.
Like, why would you, I like to enjoy when I golf. And when I'm playing golf there 4 days a week, I'd rather golf and drink beer and enjoy myself.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
I don't mind the wind rocks of the world.
Right.
But I don't want to ride them every single time.
Right. I have to put a battery in that camera. I think it died.
Ooh, you guys get to look at me the whole time. I saw it go out. I was like, well, here we go. Come sit on Daddy's lap. Oh, so, any other news we got to share? Anything?
I don't know.
Spicy?
I don't know anything that's spicy.
See, this is what happens when the MC stands up. Is that what you are? The lead guy? I just randomly stare at the camera in awkwardness. Yeah, we're good. And we're back.
Right through.
Oh, yes.
I don't even know if I'm going to cut this out.
No, don't cut it out because we are that generic. Actually, we were talking about the what you wear thing, and it reminded me the first time, I think it might have been my second race. My second cross-country race I ever went to. I was racing Cat 3, but I still had no clue. I drove 4 hours to get there that morning and was like, all right.
Is this the one where your dad was sick?
Yeah.
Oh,
my dad
Jesus.
had a heart attack. I got the call. My dad had a heart attack at 3 a.m. when I was getting ready to leave to drive to this race. My dad's 9 hours away, 12 hours away. So, like, okay, well, I'm going to go race anyway. So we get there and line up on the line. I look around. I'm wearing, regular shorts. I got Vans on. I hadn't even been clipless yet. And a T-shirt that I made, my dad racing jersey, right? So lined up and everybody has kits on. Everybody's got all kits. And I'm looking around like, fuck, like this was a waste of time. Like I'm going to get my ass kicked. And so it goes off and we take off and I don't know where I'm at. You never know where you're at in those races. There's just people everywhere. So just kind of put my head down. Like at one point, this goes back to my dad's heart attack thing. But at one point I'm like in pain. I was like, wait, my dad might've died. Like he's bad. Like this is not pain. So anyway, push through, get done. And John and Don were there and John was like, how'd you do? I was like, I have no clue. Like I never saw anybody that I saw at the start line. So I just assumed they all dropped me. Right. So we get done and I ended up I got third place, I think.
There you go.
But that was pretty sweet in the fact that it doesn't matter what you wear. And also humble brag that I got on the podium.
Right.
But I mean,
the subtle humble brag.
I brought it all back. But the spandex and cargo thing, I was being douchey because I was judging them, thinking they're fast. They're probably being douchey, judging me like, what the hell is this dude doing?
Or vice versa. They were like, oh, this guy just doesn't know because he hasn't ridden long enough.
Right.
If he's going to be in, I mean, what is the actual increase? Like Nixon said it best.
No,
Nixon gave the best answer I've ever heard, but there's not really that much of an increase. It's more about wicking.
An XC sprint race like that.
It's more about wicking
especially
at that
Cat
point.
3. Those dudes are all half
but now
trained.
enduro, if I was not enduro, but endurance. Sorry, if I was doing an endurance race, I don't know. I might.
Yeah, because
first off, I'm going to chamois, which I haven't done in years. I don't even know if my butthole will accept a chamois.
Well,
that's the title of this episode.
Depends on what time of year it is.
Oh man, ow, that hurts my back. Damn it.
I think that when you do that, it's almost that whole UPS drivers only turn right thing. Yeah. Because if you take that over a certain long period of time, the benefit that you get from it added up over time is probably greater than if you have that resistance.
Yeah, fair enough.
Know. I guess if you're riding in open, not in the woods, and you finally hit a headwind and your shirt's flapping, you're like, fuck, I wish this thing wasn't flapping.
No, probably right. I mean, you've never ridden like any big open road stuff, right?
Yes.
Like on a road bike, though?
No, on a mountain bike.
So when I went to Wyoming with Mr. Pickles,
oh yeah, you did.
We did way open stuff. We're literally riding at Devil's Tower. I mean, I sent Devil's Tower. Like I came down, like because you can't mountain bike there, but you can road bike down, and it's a brutal climb up. And then the descent is the shit. And I've told the story. Like, it's one of my favorite biking moments in history, personal moments, right? Because I was just hauling ass. But when we were out there riding, the headwind in both Cleveland, or we were in, not Cleveland, we were in South Dakota at first. The headwind in South Dakota was so gnarly that, I mean, it felt like we were riding in place. Like, it was absolutely the worst ride in the world. Because it was that bad. Right. So then it made sense. Like, you don't want all that stuff, right? And so you want to be buttoned up. But it was also cold as fuck. Like, it was not pleasant. So I get it. I mean, that's like, not to knock it. I get it. There's a time and place for it. Yeah. I think if I had, do you remember this company? I think they were called Golf Punk. Do you remember? You ever remember?
I don't think so.
It was something like that. But it was a company, and like it was all golf clothes that were meant to be course legal for dress requirements. Yeah. But they had like weird like under the collar, I think there was like middle fingers or anarchy symbols.
There's some of those. I follow some now.
Yeah, it was like all this like hidden little moments of like you're dressed preppy, but it's really anarchy and chaos and punk rock.
Yeah, there's one now that I think there's a dude like bending over, but it's like real small all over, like just stuff like that.
I think I would do that if I could get some good looking spandex that made sense that way.
Oh, dude, they have so much spandex kit.
Oh, there's crazy stuff now. Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah. But I don't like the way it feels.
Well, I'm fat.
Yeah, I'm the same way, bro.
Look like a Idaho potato sack with a spandex on.
I mean, I guess if you own it though, and you're just like, fuck it, I'm rocking it. I'm gonna own this.
I'm comfortable. Fuck everybody.
Yeah. So I think the big takeaway from this thing is just sharing the stoke. Like, there's some tips on how to do it. Whatever. If you need hacks on sharing the stoke, God bless you. You need probably more than that in life. But I did think it was relevant that we brought it up. It wasn't just about giving Jake a bike. It wasn't just about going out there and riding hard. It was literally one of these times where like everybody, the one thing I've noticed is if you come out positive and you share the stoke and you start your ride being positive and sharing that plus, it literally is contagious.
That's right.
Because once it starts, it spreads. And if you're willing to do that, then everybody benefits from it, because then it's like a feeding frenzy of Skittles. It just turns into this wonderful, great thing that makes everybody feel better. So just a thought process.
The irony in Sunday was that I was out there so early by myself,
Yeah.
like made a fire, even made a post on the group, like, you guys are bitches, basically.
Right.
Like, why is no one here? And I was getting mad. It was like almost.
It was 30 degrees.
Yeah, but it was like 9:30 and no one was there.
No. I showed up at 8.
No.
8:30.
9:30.
Was it 9:30?
Yeah, because I remember looking at my watch and was like,
You were there 2 hours by yourself?
yes, I burnt everything.
I burnt
I
everything.
had a fire.
Ran out of wood, started chopping down jumps.
Yeah, I started riding.
Yeah.
So, the way when I saw people rolling in though, it was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it made it all worth it.
Yeah.
Just the whole thing. It was
Yeah,
great.
and
I
that's
wasn't
what you have to-
genuinely mad. I was just
No, I get it. But that's what I'm saying is like you have to create that stoke and make
Right.
it work. There's times that I've gone out there by myself where I just wanted, because I use that place as a place to clear my head. You and I have talked about it before, and we've both been out there working and not talked to each other because we're doing different stuff.
Right.
And there's times we're just talking the entire time. So I use that place for a lot of therapeutic. I think that's important. But there's other times I even want to just go out there and ride. Like
yeah.
if we're trying to bed in a trail, I have no problem turning on the old Trek EXE and just riding laps.
Right.
And no problem. I listen to some Rogan or a podcast or something else, and there's nothing of consequence on those trails typically, except for the one skinny. It does hurt when you fall. But otherwise, it's just going through that process of riding them in, and when I'm done, I feel great. You know, it's that kind of thing. So I don't like riding in circles though.
Yeah, the circle thing is brutal.
It's tough.
That's why it's been nice to be able to have more trails at the Reb. Like last year, I would get bored. You know, like we have 3 trails. Like, okay, we're done. What are we doing?
Yep.
So
That's anywhere
now,
though.
yeah, now I've been riding a lot more. I mean, I get 10 miles when I go out there now. So it's
That's
like,
good.
woo.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to bring into the mix, or are we good to wrap it up?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm missing something. Like there was something I was like, I really want to say that, but I forget. So I guess I don't really need to say that.
Well, there you go.
I got shirts to make.
Yeah. Just in case you guys don't know, the FNL League is still going.
That's right.
It's going strong.
It is going strong.
I'm on the injured list from this point forward. I have no idea when my back's going to get better. But if you haven't had a chance, if you are local or regional and you want to come down, it's Friday nights at South at the USA Trailhead. That's what you can look for. And it's at 6 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always a prize.
Always. You never know what it's going to be, but
Right.
it's always there.
And then we go out. Sometimes we go out afterwards. Sometimes we don't. Just depends on people's mood. But it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't been out there to do it, it's at least worth coming out.
If you want to meet us, not being taken to a private location,
Right.
this is a great place.
Actually,
to do it.
this is the best way. This
It
is the
really
secretly because that's how Pat met us.
Yeah.
And now Pat's a member because he showed up. Turns out he was pretty cool. He fast tracked. Pat got the old fast pass.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe that's what we're gonna call him, is
The
fast pass.
Yeah.
But he got his way in there pretty quick. So because he's a good dude, and we could tell. You can identify that people are going to fit with what we're looking at for now.
Right.
But you don't know until you come out there. you
Yeah.
know?
And it's like, again, we've said it multiple times. It's not offended. We're not like being dicks to people that we haven't invited. It's
Right.
just, hey, man, like, the time isn't right.
That's it. That's all it is.
Unless you want to come build trails, and then the time can be right.
And you have a dingo.
And you have a dingo.
You can join for free.
Yeah. But please don't show us your dingo the first night.
We don't need to see your dingo or dingus.
None of it.
None of it, please. All right, well, I'm going to wrap the show on that. That's just kind of where we're at. Again, share the stoke. It makes everything better. And as always, just remember what Dale Boyd says.
If your friend rides a shitty bike, buy him a fucking new one.
It's a perfect ending.